The ocean covers most of our planet's surface, a vast body of water that stretches across continents and connects distant shores. Beneath the waves, the water is layered in zones, each one slightly different from the one above it. The sunlight that touches the surface begins to fade as you move deeper, filtering through the water in soft shades of blue and green. By the time you reach a certain depth, the light has become dim and gentle, creating a peaceful twilight zone where creatures drift quietly through the water. The ocean is always moving, even when it appears calm. Currents flow like rivers within the sea, carrying warm water from one place and cool water from another. These currents are slow and steady, circulating through the depths over long periods of time. Some currents take years to complete a single loop, moving water from the surface down to the deepest parts of the ocean and back again. This gentle circulation helps to regulate temperature and distribute nutrients throughout the water, creating a balanced environment for marine life. Waves are formed by wind moving across the water's surface. The wind transfers energy to the water, creating ripples that grow into waves. Even on a calm day, small waves continue to move across the ocean, their surfaces rising and falling in a rhythmic pattern. The size and shape of a wave depends on how long the wind has been blowing, how strong it is, and the distance over which it travels. When waves reach the shore, they break gently against the sand or rocks, releasing their energy in a soft, repetitive sound. Tides rise and fall twice each day, pulled by the gravitational forces of the moon and sun. As the moon orbits the Earth, its gravity gently tugs at the ocean, creating a bulge of water on the side of the planet closest to it. Another bulge forms on the opposite side, and as the Earth rotates, these bulges move around the planet, causing the water level at any given shore to rise and fall. High tide brings the water up the beach, and then, hours later, low tide draws it back again. This cycle continues day after day, a slow and predictable rhythm. The ocean floor is not flat. It has mountains and valleys, plains and trenches, just like the land above the surface. There are underwater mountain ranges that stretch for thousands of miles, their peaks rising high above the surrounding seabed. Some of these peaks come close to the surface, forming islands, while others remain far below, hidden in the deep water. There are also trenches, long narrow depressions in the ocean floor that reach depths of several miles. These places are quiet and still, the water pressing down with immense weight. Coral reefs grow slowly over many years, built by tiny animals called coral polyps. Each polyp is small, but together, millions of them create large structures that provide homes for many other creatures. Coral reefs are found in warm, shallow waters where sunlight can reach them. The polyps rely on algae that live inside their tissues, and these algae use sunlight to produce energy through photosynthesis. In return, the coral provides the algae with a safe place to live. This partnership allows the reef to grow and thrive over time. Kelp forests grow in cooler waters, their long fronds swaying gently with the current. Kelp is a type of seaweed that can grow quite tall, reaching from the ocean floor up toward the surface. These underwater forests are dense and green, providing shelter and food for many different species. Fish swim slowly through the kelp, and sea otters rest among the fronds, wrapping themselves in the kelp to keep from drifting away while they sleep. The kelp anchors itself to rocks on the seabed with a structure called a holdfast, and from there it grows steadily upward. The water in the ocean contains dissolved salt, which gives it a slightly different quality than fresh water. This salt comes from minerals that have been washed into the ocean from rivers and streams over millions of years. The concentration of salt varies slightly from place to place, depending on factors like evaporation and rainfall. In some areas, where the sun is strong and evaporation is high, the water is a bit saltier. In other places, where rivers flow into the ocean, the water near the shore is less salty, creating a gradual transition between fresh and salt water. Many creatures in the ocean produce their own light through a process called bioluminescence. Tiny plankton glows softly when disturbed, creating a faint shimmer in the water. Deep-sea fish carry lights on their bodies, using them to attract prey or communicate with one another. Jellyfish drift through the water with a gentle glow, their translucent bodies pulsing slowly as they move. This light is produced by a chemical reaction within their bodies, a quiet and energy-efficient way to create illumination in the dark depths of the ocean. The ocean is home to creatures of all sizes, from microscopic plankton to the largest animals on Earth. Whales move slowly through the water, their massive bodies gliding with surprising grace. They communicate with one another using low-frequency sounds that can travel for miles through the ocean. These songs are long and complex, echoing through the water in patterns that seem almost musical. Other marine mammals, like dolphins and seals, also use sound to navigate and find food, clicking and whistling as they swim. Seagrass meadows grow in shallow coastal waters, their long blades waving gently with the tide. These underwater meadows provide food and shelter for many species, including sea turtles, manatees, and small fish. Seagrass is a flowering plant that has adapted to live entirely underwater, its roots anchoring it to the sandy or muddy bottom. The meadows help to stabilize the seabed, preventing erosion and filtering sediment from the water. They also absorb carbon dioxide, playing a quiet but important role in the ocean's ecosystem. The ocean has different layers, each with its own characteristics. The surface layer, where sunlight penetrates, is warm and full of life. Below that is the thermocline, a zone where the temperature drops quickly with depth. Deeper still is the cold, dark water of the deep ocean, where the temperature remains constant and near freezing. In the very deepest parts, the water is under tremendous pressure, yet life still exists there, adapted to conditions that seem almost unimaginable. Creatures in these depths move slowly, conserving energy in an environment where food is scarce. Sea turtles spend most of their lives in the ocean, swimming slowly through warm waters. They have been around for millions of years, their bodies perfectly adapted to life at sea. Sea turtles feed on seagrass, jellyfish, and other marine organisms, gliding gracefully as they search for food. Every few years, females return to the beaches where they were born to lay their eggs, digging nests in the sand and then returning to the ocean. The eggs incubate in the warm sand, and when the hatchlings emerge, they make their way to the water, beginning their own long journey. The ocean floor is covered in sediment, fine particles that have settled over time. Some of this sediment comes from the land, carried to the ocean by rivers. Other particles come from the remains of tiny marine organisms, shells and skeletons that drift down through the water after the organisms die. Over millions of years, these sediments build up in thick layers, creating a record of the ocean's history. In some places, the sediment is soft and muddy, while in others it is sandy or rocky. Sea anemones attach themselves to rocks or other hard surfaces, their tentacles swaying gently in the current. They are simple creatures, waiting patiently for food to drift within reach. Their tentacles are armed with tiny stinging cells, but they use them only to capture small prey. Clownfish live among the tentacles of certain anemones, protected by a special coating on their skin that prevents them from being stung. The fish help to keep the anemone clean, and in return, they have a safe place to live. The ocean absorbs heat from the sun, helping to regulate the Earth's climate. Warm water near the equator is carried by currents toward the poles, while cold water from the poles flows back toward the equator. This circulation of heat influences weather patterns on land, bringing rain to some areas and drought to others. The ocean also absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, helping to moderate the concentration of this gas. This process happens slowly, through chemical reactions and the action of marine organisms. Mangrove forests grow along tropical coastlines, their roots extending into the salty water. These trees are specially adapted to live in conditions that would be difficult for most plants, tolerating both salt and the changing water levels caused by tides. The tangled roots of mangroves provide shelter for young fish and other marine creatures, creating a nursery where they can grow before moving out into deeper water. The roots also help to stabilize the coastline, protecting the land from erosion caused by waves and storms. Icebergs float in polar waters, large chunks of ice that have broken off from glacier. Most of an iceberg's mass is below the surface, hidden beneath the water. They drift slowly with the currents, gradually melting as they move into warmer waters. The ice in an iceberg is fresh, not salty, because it comes from compacted snow that fell on land over many years. Icebergs come in many shapes and sizes, some smooth and rounded, others jagged and irregular. They can last for months or even years before they completely melt away. The ocean produces much of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere, not from large plants, but from tiny organisms called phytoplankton. These microscopic organisms float near the surface, using sunlight to photosynthesize just like plants on land. They are so small that millions of them can fit in a single drop of water, yet together they produce a significant portion of the oxygen we breathe. Phytoplankton also form the base of the ocean's food web, providing nourishment for small creatures that are in turn eaten by larger ones. Sea stars move slowly across the ocean floor, their tube feet working together to propel them forward. They have a simple body plan, usually with 5 arms radiating from a central disk, though some species have more. If a sea star loses an arm, it can often grow a new one, a process that takes time but allows the animal to recover from injury. Sea stars feed on mollusks, using their arms to pull open the shells and then extending their stomachs to digest the soft tissue inside. They are patient feeders, taking their time to consume their meal. The ocean is full of sounds, though we often think of it as silent. Water is an excellent conductor of sound, and noises travel far and quickly through it. Whales sing their long songs, shrimp snap their claws creating sharp cracking sounds, and fish grunt and chirp as they communicate. Even the movement of water itself creates sound, the gentle rush of currents and the subtle noise of bubbles rising to the surface. These sounds form a constant backdrop in the ocean, a quiet symphony that continues day and night. Sponges are some of the simplest animals in the ocean, yet they have existed for hundreds of millions of years. They attach themselves to rocks or other surfaces and filter water through their bodies, extracting tiny particles of food. A sponge's body is full of small channels and chambers, allowing water to flow through it continuously. Some sponges are soft and pliable, while others are hard and rigid, their structures reinforced with tiny spicules made of calcium or silica. They come in many shapes and colors, quietly filtering water in their corner of the reef. The deep ocean is a place of stillness and cold. Here, there is no sunlight, and the temperature hovers just above freezing. The water pressure is immense, yet creatures have adapted to survive in this environment. Deep-sea fish often have large eyes to capture what little light exists, and some have soft, gelatinous bodies that can withstand the pressure. Food is scarce, so many deep-sea animals have slow metabolisms, moving little and conserving energy. They wait patiently for food to drift down from the waters above, a slow rain of organic matter that sustains life in the depths. The edge of the ocean where it meets the land is called the intertidal zone. This area is covered by water at high tide and exposed to air at low tide, creating a challenging environment for the creatures that live there. Barnacles cling to rocks, their hard shells protecting them from drying out. Crabs scuttle across the sand, searching for food. Small pools of water are left behind when the tide goes out, and in these tide pools, tiny ecosystems thrive. Anemones, snails, and small fish wait for the tide to return, surviving in the shallow water until the ocean comes back. Salt marshes form in sheltered coastal areas where rivers meet the sea. These wetlands are covered by grasses that can tolerate salty water, their roots holding the soft mud in place. Salt marshes provide important habitat for birds and fish, and they help to filter pollutants from the water before it reaches the ocean. The grasses sway gently in the breeze, and the marsh is quiet except for the occasional call of a bird or the soft splash of water. The ocean has been here for billions of years, covering the Earth long before humans appeared. It has shaped the planet's climate, influenced the development of life, and connected continents. The water in the ocean today is the same water that has been cycling through the Earth systems for eons, evaporating into the atmosphere, falling as rain, flowing through rivers, and returning to the sea. This cycle continues endlessly, a slow and constant movement of water around the planet. Jellyfish drift through the water, their bodies contracting and relaxing in a gentle rhythm. They have no brain, no heart, and no bones, yet they have survived for millions of years. Their bodies are mostly water, transparent and delicate. Long tentacles trail behind them as they move, gently stinging any small creatures that come into contact with them. Jellyfish are carried by currents, drifting wherever the water takes them, a simple existence in the vast ocean. The sand on a beach is made of tiny fragments of rock, shell, and coral, worn smooth by the action of waves over time. Each grain of sand has traveled a long distance, carried by rivers or broken down by the constant movement of water. Some beaches are made of white sand, others of golden or even black sand, depending on the composition of the rocks in the area. Walking on a beach, you are walking on the accumulated result of countless years of natural processes. Sea otters float on their backs in the water, using their bellies as a table to eat their food. They use rocks to crack open the shells of clams and other mollusks, a behavior that shows their intelligence and adaptability. Their fur is incredibly dense, with more hairs per square inch than any other animal, and it traps air to keep them warm in the cold water. Sea otters spend much of their day grooming their fur, keeping it clean and fluffy to maintain its insulating properties. The ocean is constantly changing, yet it also remains the same. Waves come and go, tides rise and fall, currents flow and shift, yet the ocean itself persists. It is a place of both movement and stillness, of life and quiet. Beneath the surface, creatures go about their lives in their own slow time, unaware of the world above. The water holds them, supports them, and provides everything they need, a vast and ancient home.